Allow me to reintroduce to you the real Black Panther Party, the one you did not learn about in your history books. The goal and intention of the Black Panther Party is often misunderstood, misconstrued, and minimized. The Panthers are often portrayed as immorally violent, anti-white, and unethical for the ways they took a stand for their people. This depiction of the Panthers is a predominant belief about the revolutionary group. I aim to reiterate, reintroduce, and reinstate the Black Panthers as a group who took a stand against the oppression of their people in a reasonable and ethical way. Who are the Black Panthers? TCI History Alive textbook describes the Black Panthers in a synopsis about Black power groups during the Civil Rights Movement. It reads, "Many Black power groups embraced militant strategies and the use of violence. They rejected all things white and talked of building a separate Black nation." This description completely contrasts the way the Panthers saw themselves. Co-leader of the party, Huey P. Newton, describes the group as Black revolutionaries who realized they had to have an identity. The Panthers often focus on the power of the people and making sure that Black people were not denied their rights, such as voting, bearing arms, education, and serving in political positions. Newton and fellow co-leader Bobby Seale developed a 10-point plan that alludes to freedom, land, housing, employment, and education for Black people.
You say we want freedom, we want power to determine the destiny of our Black community, full employment for our people. Number 3, we want housing fit, decent housing fit for shelter of human beings. Number 4, we want all Black men to be exempt from military service. Number 5, we want decent education for our Black people in our community that teaches us the true nature of this decadent racist society, and to teach Black people and our young Black brothers and sisters their place in society, because if they don't know their place in society and in the world, they can't relate to anything else.
In comparison to groups like SNCC, the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, many view the Panthers as the violent group. The great debate between Malcolm X and Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s approaches, violent versus nonviolent, are taught and portrayed throughout history classes everywhere. The Panthers were among those who agreed with the philosophy of Malcolm X, but the Panthers did not go as far as his by any means necessary policy. The Panthers exercised their right to bear arms as a part of their revolution. In an article by the John Brown Society, Newton is quoted as saying, "The Black Panther is an animal that will not instinctively attack. If attacked, the Black Panther backs up until he has no more room to back up. Then and only then will the Black Panther strike out at his assailant and wipe them out." This became a tenet of the Black Panthers' ideology. The party would not attack unless pushed up against a wall where nothing else is possible other than to attack in order to live.
The Panthers at that time were very concerned about police brutality in Oakland. They wanted to end police brutality. And they had an idea that one way to do that would be community patrols of the police. And in these community patrols, members of the Black Panther Party for Self-Defense, if they saw police interacting with citizens,
there would be a Black Panther present with a camera and also an unloaded shotgun. The goal of that was to be an eyewitness to prevent any possibility of police brutality.
The Panthers are also depicted as rejecting all things white. This is another misunderstanding. Newton gave a speech to the movement about revolutionaries versus reactionaries, in which he classified revolutionaries as anyone, regardless of race, who has the end goal of empowering the people. He explained that there are white revolutionaries who help the Panthers, and as long as they have the same end goal, white men and women have a place in the revolution. There were many white men and women who stood beside civil rights groups like the Panthers and the NAACP, the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People. They were accepted as partners in the revolution. They will often testify as witnesses and protest alongside the Black men and women of these groups. In the words of party leader Fred Hampton, "And we say that we will work with anybody and form a coalition with anybody that has revolution on their mind." In regard to the separate Black nation they are said to have proposed, the Panthers believe African Americans have to realize our Black heritage in order to give us strength and to move on and progress. But as far as returning to old African culture, it's unnecessary and is not advantageous in many respects. The relationship between the Black Panthers and the government was very tumultuous. Aside from personal threats to the leaders of the Panthers from the FBI, The government would send snipers in the night without warning to open fire on the houses where the Panthers met. One example is the assassination of Fred Hampton. Police raided his house and shot and killed him after they removed his fiancée from the room, whom at the time was 8.5 months pregnant.
Still half asleep, I looked up and I saw bullets coming from, it looked like the front of the apartment, from the kitchen area. They were, pigs were just shooting. And about this time, I jumped on top of the chairman. He looked up. Looked like all the pigs converged at the entranceway to the bedroom area, back bedroom area. The mattress is just going. You could feel bullets going into it. I just knew we'd be dead, everybody in there. When he looked up, he just looked up. He didn't say a word, and he didn't move, except for moving his head up. He laid his head back down to the side like that. He never said a word, and he never got up out the bed. The person who was in the room, they kept hollering out, "Stop shooting, stop shooting. We have a pregnant woman or a pregnant sister in here." At that time, I was 8.5 to 9 months pregnant. My baby was to be delivered in 2 weeks. Pigs kept on shooting. So he kept on hollering out. Finally, they stopped. They pushed me and the other brother by the kitchen door and told us to face the wall. Heard a pig say, "He's barely alive, he'll barely make it." I assume they were talking about Chairman Fred. So then they started shooting the pigs. They started shooting again. I heard the sister scream. They stopped shooting. Pig said, "He's good and dead now." The pigs were running around laughing. They were really happy, talking about Chairman Fred is dead. I never saw Chairman Fred again.
The groups were often armed, but could not defend themselves against overnight attacks. In his book, Mumia Abu-Jamal, founder of the Philadelphia branch of the Black Panther Party, gives a first-hand account of such an event, describing how these houses functioned as meeting places for the party. There were men and women in these houses around the clock. He also had the chance to visit the California office where Huey was located and was shocked by the normality of the place. They were safe places for the Panthers to meet and discuss future endeavors. The FBI would bargain with criminals to be spies and informants to come into these places disguised as revolutionaries. These people would then report back to the FBI after attending Panther meetings. FBI documents have been discovered with statements that ordered imaginative and hard-hitting counterintelligence measures aimed at crippling the Black Panther Party. The Panthers were clear about their intentions. They would write out their demands on paper or shout them aloud at protests. Their main goal was to encourage their people to realize their heritage and identity. They protected their communities in legal and moral ways. They used their platform in their newspaper, the Black Panther, to inform and encourage African American beauty and excellence. They used protests to encourage voter registration. They also created food security programs such as breakfast for children, educational facilities, and martial arts training for teenagers.
Come on in, little brother. Come on in, little sister. Y'all can sit down and get something to eat. Y'all take off y'all coat. Everybody gonna need y'all can eat as much as y'all want. Right on. Who wants to play? You want to steal? Who all wants to steal? 1, 2. Who wants to steal?
The Black Panther Party deserves to be recognized as a revolutionary group that had the desire to find freedom. They deserve to be known as a veritable group of men and women who took a stand against the oppression of their people. Today, their ideologies are still used in movements like the Black Lives Matter movement, a movement against police brutality and racial discrimination in America. In 2015, Seal wrote, "Black Lives Matter is a call to action and a response to the virulent anti-Black racism that still permeates the American landscape." The Black Lives Matter movement encounters some of the same misunderstandings as the Panthers, such as being perceived as anti-white for only emphasizing that Black Lives Matter rather than all lives or white lives. Because this is an ongoing issue, now is the perfect time to clarify the misunderstandings in the history of the Black Panther Party, a Black power group who took a stand for a cause that is still relevant today.